You think desire is about beauty.
Well, if that's what you
You
want,
think it is
that's
about
what you'll
charm,
get. I
about
promise.
words, about affection. You think a woman's heart is swayed by gifts, attention, and promises. You are wrong. Desire
you
does
can
not
just sit
move
there
on
and
the
say
surface.
nothing?
It lives in the shadows, in silence, in what is not spoken. Every
you do
woman
that?
carries
Tell me
within
no, I
her
said do
a
it.
secret.
I did what I had to do.
Not the kind written in a diary, not the kind confessed to a friend. It is darker. It is older than language itself, and it governs the pull she feels toward a man. This secret is not about romance. It is not about fairy tales, marriage, or safety. Those are masks, useful for the world outside. But beneath them lies something primal, a hunger women do not admit, a craving most men never sense, because most men are too busy chasing the illusion. They waste their strength pursuing smiles, chasing validation, proving worth. Meanwhile, the secret sits, untouched, controlling her choices from within. The Stoics spoke of nature as the ultimate law. Logos, the order beneath appearances. To ignore it is to live as a slave to false impressions. The same law applies to desire. A woman may speak of what she wants, but words deceive. She may claim to want kindness, comfort, stability. Yet watch her actions when confronted with a man who embodies strength, silence, unshaken self-command. You will see her betray her own words. You will see her lean toward what unsettles her. The dark secret behind her desire is this: she does not long for possession of a man. She longs to be overpowered by what she cannot control. This does not mean cruelty. It does not mean harm. It means the presence of a man so anchored that her influence cannot sway him. A man she cannot move with pleas, as anger or manipulation. She desires to test his boundary and, in testing, to find it unbreakable. That is the silent fantasy she hides, to meet something immovable. Why does she conceal it? Because the world punishes honesty. If she revealed that her deepest attraction lies not in comfort, but in being dwarfed by strength, she would be judged. She would be called weak, submissive, shameful. So she cloaks the fantasy in civility. She plays the role of the modern, reasonable woman. Yet inside, she yearns for the rare man who stands untouchable. This yearning is not chosen. It is written in the marrow of her being. Stoicism teaches indifference to externals, to wealth, to fame, to the shifting opinions of others. The same indifference, when embodied in a man, becomes the very signal that draws her, because it proves something. It proves he is governed by himself alone, not by her moods, not by her body, not by the temptation of approval. That kind of man is scarce. Scarcity breeds value. Value breeds desire. Most men fail here. They give themselves away. They reveal that they are moved by flattery, swayed by beauty, broken by rejection. The moment she sees this, the fantasy dissolves. There is no secret fire for a man she can control. There may be comfort, there may be utility, but not desire. Desire only thrives in the presence of resistance. Think of a river striking a stone. The water cannot help but curve around it, pulled by its solidity. So it is with her attraction. She does not want the water to be answered by more water. She wants the stone. Something unyielding, something that does not adapt itself to please. This is the one dark secret, that her deepest craving is not to be the center of a man's world, but to orbit something stronger than herself. A truth she will never confess, because to confess is to expose vulnerability. Yet it governs her every choice. The men she remembers, the men she dreams of, the men she regrets losing, all share this quality. They carried themselves as though untouched by her attempts to sway them. You must understand the danger. If you expose this knowledge foolishly, if you boast of it, if you try to wield it as a trick, it collapses. A man who seeks to manipulate desire reveals dependence. The secret only works when lived, not when imitated. To live it means to cultivate stoic detachment, not for her, but for yourself. To embody the principle that nothing external determines your worth. That includes her, especially her. In Marcus Aurelius, you read, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In Epictetus, you hear, "No man is free who is not master of himself." These are not abstractions. They are the very foundation of masculine presence. When a woman feels the weight of this presence, she cannot help but be drawn. Not because you have conquered her, but because you have conquered yourself. This is why she hides it. Because the world teaches her to value comfort, to seek safety, to demand attention. Yet her blood betrays her. Her body stirs for the one who does not bend. She will test you. She will provoke, withdraw, threaten, tempt. She does not do this consciously. It is the silent theater of desire. Each test is a question. Are you immovable? If you fail, she turns cold. If you hold, she falls deeper. Men who do not know this secret waste their lives in confusion. They chase what she says instead of what she feels. They think flowers will outweigh silence. They think reassurance will outweigh mystery. They think constant availability will outweigh distance. And so they die forgotten, because they never understood that desire is not fed by comfort, but by tension. The tension of her fantasy is this: she wants to feel small before something vast. In that smallness, she feels release, not weakness, but surrender. A surrender that frees her from the burden of control. This is what she hides, because to reveal it would be to admit dependence on the masculine. So she acts as if she desires equality. But her body, her silence, her actions prove otherwise. Stoicism arms you with clarity, to see beneath masks, to separate words from truth. The dark secret behind her desire is not for you to exploit. It is for you to recognize, so that you stop deceiving yourself with her claims, so that you stop bending to her surface demands, so that you remain stone, unmoved, and in being unmoved, become the object of the very fire she cannot confess. You have seen it, but never named it. The girl who swore she wanted a man who would worship her ends up with the man who ignores her calls. The woman who demanded endless reassurance loses herself over the one who gives her none. The wife who asked for stability remembers the lover who left her in chaos. These contradictions are not accidents. They are proof of the secret. Words speak of safety. Blood moves toward danger. What is danger here? Not violence, not recklessness. The danger she feels is the loss of control. When faced with a man she cannot move, she confronts her own limits. That confrontation unsettles her, excites her, keeps her awake at night. It is the pull toward what is larger than her own will. She despises it in public, but in private, it is the fantasy she nurses. To be claimed not by gifts or promises, but by the silent authority of presence. Authority is the axis of her desire, not authority granted by title, wealth, or status. Authority earned by mastery of self. When a man is governed by his own discipline, he radiates authority. He does not need to shout. He does not need to prove. His restraint proves more than any outburst. This is what she recognizes. This is what stirs her secret longing. Men today are trained to submit. They are told to cater, to serve, to place her on a pedestal. They become shadows of themselves, orbiting a woman's approval. They wonder why their devotion breeds contempt. They do not see that devotion without strength appears as weakness, and weakness kills desire. She may use a weak man. She may tolerate him, but she will not burn for him. Her fantasy dies in his eagerness. The Stoics warned of attachment. Attachment breeds slavery. If your peace depends on her smile, she owns you. If your worth depends on her body, she commands you. And once she senses this imbalance, she loses respect. She cannot secretly desire what she openly controls. She cannot surrender to one who is already surrendered. This is the brutal symmetry. Think of the soldier who marches unflinching toward danger. The crowd feels awe, not because he seeks approval, but because he disregards it. The same dynamic shapes desire. A man unshaken by loss, unmoved by temptation, unwilling to compromise his ground, he embodies the archetype her fantasy circles. Not because he promises safety, but because he is danger contained. Understand the paradox. She will never tell you this. She will demand your attention, complain of your silence, accuse you of distance. Yet when you yield, she grows cold. When you resist, she grows restless. When you remain silent, she thinks of you endlessly. She does not know why. You know now. It is the dark secret steering her. You must not misinterpret this as cruelty. It is not about mistreating her. It is not about games. It is about being governed by principle, not by emotion. When Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself," he revealed the core. Freedom from her control is the very thing that makes you desirable to her. For her, that freedom feels like a chain she cannot break. That chain is the essence of the fantasy. A woman does not desire chaos. She desires order she cannot command. The masculine presence that stands indifferent before her storms. The man who can look at her anger and remain calm. The man who can look at her beauty and remain unshaken. To him, her beauty is an external, like wealth, like status, neither defining nor corrupting his core. That indifference is the spark. She cannot tell you this, because to admit it is to confess that her independence is not complete. To admit that she longs for surrender in the presence of strength undermines the persona she must uphold. So she hides. She says the opposite. She declares independence, autonomy, self-sufficiency. And she is sincere in those declarations until she meets the man who embodies stillness. Then her declarations fade. Her body answers to something older than her words. This is the conflict within her. The world instructs her to value equality. Her secret instructs her to crave dominance of presence. Not dominance of force, but dominance of being. This dissonance drives her to conceal her fantasy even from herself. She will mask it as admiration, respect, curiosity. But beneath, it is hunger. For the man who understands, this knowledge is not to be flaunted. To flaunt is to expose need. Need betrays strength. The only path is embodiment. To be indifferent not only to her, but to this very secret. To live as though you never sought to uncover it, as though your clarity is simply your nature. This is the Stoic path. To rule yourself and in doing so, to rule her desire without touching it. The dark secret can be summarized. She longs to meet what she can't move. That is all. That is the fantasy she hides. All else is noise. Every action, every word, every contradiction is rooted in this single truth. Men who fail to grasp it remain slaves to confusion. Men who grasp it, but misuse it, fall into arrogance. Only the man who embodies it without effort becomes the one who lingers in her silence. Her tests make sense now. The insults, the withdrawals, the accusations, they are not random. They are instruments of probing. She wants to know if the stone is real. If you react, you crumble. If you argue, you bend. If you plead, you fracture. But if you remain still, if you remain unmoved, she receives her answer. And her secret desire intensifies. This is why the ancients valued silence. Silence is proof of mastery. Silence cannot be faked for long. To be silent in the face of her storms is to declare sovereignty without words. She feels it. It awakens the part of her she cannot reveal. You must understand, this will not make life easier. It will not make relationships smoother. It will make them truer. To live this way is to awaken her hidden craving again and again. And that craving is not peace. It is fire. It is tension. It is struggle. She will never stop testing because the fantasy demands it. She will never admit the truth because the mask forbids it. But she will stay because her blood binds her to it. Every woman carries this fire, though most pretend they do not. It is not personal to her. It is not unique to one culture, one generation, one type. It is universal. The form changes with time, the expression shifts, but the essence remains constant. She wants to lose herself in something she cannot dominate. The forms, romantic language, cultural norms, moral codes, these are the clothes that hide the truth. Remove the clothes, and the truth stands naked. The poets hinted at it. Ancient myths were built upon it. Helen, Cleopatra, Bathsheba, women whose desires toppled kingdoms were not moved by flattery. They were moved by presence that unsettled them. They were drawn not to comfort, but to danger disguised as strength. The secret is old. It is the same today. Technology, politics, progress, none erase it. Underneath the digital world, the same primal current flows. Men misunderstand this and fall into two errors. Some retreat into submission, believing obedience earns love. Others swing to cruelty, mistaking abuse for strength. Both are wrong. One suffocates her desire, the other poisons it. What she secretly longs for is neither servant nor tyrant. She longs for the sovereign, the man who does not kneel, does not lash out, does not break, the one who governs himself so completely that she feels governed in his presence. That is authority. That is the fantasy. You see the evidence in her silence. Notice the men she remembers years after they are gone. They are not the ones who gave her the most gifts. They are not the ones who bent the most to please her. They are the ones who remained untouched by her storms. The ones who made her feel the weight of something she could not bend. Those men live forever in her memory because they awakened her hidden craving. This explains her contradictions. She demands reassurance, but despises the men who provide it without resistance. She criticizes indifference, yet obsesses over the man who practices it. She says she wants availability, yet chases the one who is scarce. This is not hypocrisy. It is the clash between her conscious words and her unconscious fantasy. The surface and the depth do not align. She speaks the language of comfort while desiring the experience of surrender. The Stoics warned of deception in appearances. What seems desirable often corrupts. What seems painful often strengthens. A wise man looks beneath. Apply the same wisdom here. What she says is not what she feels. What she demands is not what she craves. If you take her words literally, you become lost. If you watch her actions and her silences, you discover the truth. And the truth is harsh. She does not love weakness. She may pity it. She may use it. But she does not burn for it. Her blood moves only towards strength clothed in restraint. A man enslaved to lust, greed, or rage cannot embody this. He is merely noise. True strength is silence. The quiet mastery of self. The ability to walk away from her, from pleasure, from comfort, without hesitation. That indifference is the proof she seeks. This is why men who cling always lose. They think attachment shows love. In truth, attachment shows dependency, and dependency dissolves the fantasy. Once she knows she owns you, she cannot desire you. She may stay for convenience, but the secret is gone. Desire dies where control begins. The dark secret explains her testing. Every insult, every sudden withdrawal, every cold shoulder is a tool, not to destroy you, but to measure you. She does not test out of cruelty. She tests because the fantasy demands it. She must know if the stone will crack. Each test is an unconscious plea. Show me that you cannot be moved. Fail once, and her respect begins to erode. Fail repeatedly, and the desire dies forever. She may stay, but she stays with contempt. Men call this manipulation. They are half right. It is manipulation, but not deliberate. It is instinct. Just as the wolf stalks without moral debate, she tests without conscious planning. It is written into her design. You cannot argue it away. You cannot complain it into submission. You can only face it, unmoved. That is the answer. You ask why Stoicism matters here. Because Stoicism is the only discipline that builds the kind of presence her secret craves. Stoicism teaches indifference to pain and pleasure, victory and defeat, praise and blame. A man who lives this discipline becomes ungoverned by externals, and in becoming ungoverned, he becomes the rare object of her unspoken desire. She cannot explain why. She simply feels it. This is why the masses of men are forgotten. They chase wealth, status, charm, validation, believing these things will feed her desire. But she forgets them as quickly as they fade, because none of it touched the secret. Only the man who mastered himself entered the fantasy. Only he lingers. The dark secret is not romantic. It is not soft. It is not easy. It is brutal. She does not long for comfort. She longs for surrender. She does not confess it, because to confess is to admit dependence. But every time she lies awake, remembering the man who never bent, she confesses with her silence. Her body tells the truth, her words cannot. Understand this, and you will see the world differently. You will stop chasing illusions. You will stop bending to demands that contradict desire. You will see tests for what they are, proof that she still burns, proof that her secret is alive. And you will answer not with anger, not with submission, but with silence. The stone does not argue with the river. The river crashes, swirls, storms. The stone remains. That is enough. That is what she seeks, though she never admits it. That is the one dark secret behind her desire. You now see why men who reveal need are discarded. Why the man who collapses at rejection is erased from memory. Why the one who remains silent after her storms is never forgotten. The dark secret behind her desire is the craving for immovable strength. Not the strength that boasts, but the strength that stands. The kind that does not seek to conquer her, yet cannot be conquered by her. This is the essence of Stoic masculinity: to live ungoverned, to place your mind above fortune, pleasure, fear, and the opinions of others, to hold yourself as sufficient, regardless of loss or gain. Such a man does not try to impress. He does not perform. He does not ask. His being radiates what no trick can imitate. This audience is what ignites her fantasy. You must not confuse fantasy with happiness. Happiness is built on stability, agreement, and peace. Her fantasy is built on tension, risk, and surrender. That is why she hides it. That is why she will never confess it, even to herself. To admit that she longs for a presence she cannot move is to admit weakness. But the body betrays her. The body does not lie. The silence after meeting such a man reveals the truth. The Stoics remind us, externals do not define us. Not her approval, not her rejection, not her body. If you hinge your worth on these things, you destroy the very essence that stirs her hidden desire. The man who craves nothing from her is the one who receives everything from her, not because he asked, but because she gives. She gives because she feels the unshakable presence that awakens her secret. This is the paradox. You cannot pursue the secret. If you try, you reveal dependence. If you act to trigger it, you show weakness. The secret is only revealed when you live in indifference to it. When you embody the discipline for yourself alone, then it appears as a side effect. She feels it. She responds. But you did not seek it. That is why it works. The world despises this truth. Society demands equality, predictability, control. Yet nature writes another law. Attraction is not democratic. It is not built on fairness. It is built on polarity. Her secret is the pull towards strength she cannot bend. You do not have to approve of it. You only have to see it. To deny it is to remain blind. To see it is to regain clarity. Once you see it, your behavior changes. You stop apologizing for silence. You stop chasing after withdrawal. You stop explaining yourself to win her approval. You stop fearing her tests. You understand they are not attacks, but confirmations. Each one an opportunity to prove that nothing can move you. And in that proof, her fantasy breathes. This truth is not for comfort. It will not make your life easier. It will make it sharper. Because once you embody it, women respond to you differently. They cling, they resist, they test, they surrender. And none of it must touch you. You remain as you are. The stone does not swell with pride because the river circles it. The stone remains stone. And that is the lesson. The secret is not about women. It is about you. About living as one who is not swayed by externals. About standing rooted in principle when the world tempts, flatters, threatens. Women feel this more than men do because their attraction is bound to it. But it is not for them that you embody it. You embody it because it is the Stoic path. The byproduct is that her secret desire awakens in your presence. Remember this: the dark secret behind a woman's desire is not for you to use. It is for you to understand. To prevent you from wasting your life chasing illusions. To prevent you from weakening yourself for what she claims to want. To strip away the lies and show the truth beneath. She does not long for control. She longs for release. She does not burn for comfort. She burns for strength. She does not surrender to gifts. She surrenders to presence. And that presence is only born when you no longer seek her surrender. when you live as though nothing outside yourself holds power. This is why she remembers him, not because he was kind, not because he gave, but because he was immovable. That is the one dark secret. That is what she cannot say aloud. That is what she guards behind masks of words, roles, and demands. And that is what you must never forget. Be the stone. Be unmoved. Govern yourself. And in governing yourself, you will command what no words could ever win.